after they were created from God. Samson was a man who was battling, and every time he would win a mighty battle, his vow to God was strengthened. He was God's very strength. But the enemy came right after the battle in a place where he should have stood in battle. But what does it say? That does anybody know when Samson was overtaken? He was overtaken while he was asleep. In the arms of Delilah, yeah. And as he was asleep with her, then the enemy came in that time where he was not standing, but he was sleeping. David was a man after God's own heart, but he was taken after in adultery because he refused to stand after the victory. Solomon was the temple builder, but he was found endorsing idolatry after. Jonah was the voice of the Lord for his generation, but fear and disobedience crept in, and he did not stand after his victories. Peter was the one who saw it with spiritual eyes, but denied it. The disciples, the ones he taught to pray, what did they do? They fell asleep. They didn't know what it was like to stand after the battle, after the victory. Spiritual warfare will bring great victories into your life. And I don't know if any of you have had great victories, but I've had great victories in my life. And spiritual warfare brings those great victories into my life. But after the victory, you become the blessed of the Lord. You win a mighty victory in God, you become the blessed of the Lord. You become powerful in God. You become God's chosen, God's favorite. But the price on your head becomes greater in the kingdom of darkness. I guarantee you, you win a victory. Are you hearing me?
Yeah.
You win a victory. You win a victory in the realm of darkness. Price goes up on your head. Price goes up on your head. I look at people like Jimmy Swaggart who ended up falling, and I think to myself, people would come to me after that, and I was pastoring in Wisconsin at that time, and they said, "Oh, Pastor Mark, we just feel like we're so discouraged, we just want to go back out to the bars and want to go get a drink." And I'm like, why would you do something stupid like that? And I said, you know what your problem is you've had Jimmy Swaggart on a pedestal instead of a pluralist. We're just men. That's all we are. We're just men. Paul talks about unprofitable servants. We're just men. But the minute you put somebody up on a pedestal instead of a pluralist, things can really come after that person. But again, we have prices on our heads if we've won victories in the realms of darkness, in the kingdom of darkness. After victory, there will always be a subtle approach of the enemy. Many times in a different type of battle. He might not come the same exact way. He didn't come with David. He didn't come with swords and spears into David's bedroom when David decided not to stand in the battle. But he came with a very beautiful woman. He came in a different and a subtle way. And David was not standing after his victory. David was not standing after his victory. After getting psyched for battle, it's like I said, we're the most vulnerable after victory. Not only because our armies are a little bit depleted, and our power is a little bit depleted, and we're a little bit tired, and we're a little bit drawn because of what we've gone through. But now, if we've got the victory, our mind can become your enemy in that place of victory. Because your mind says, you deserve a rest. You're tired. Oh, look at how great you guys were. Look how powerful you were. You deserve this. You deserve that. You know what? When we become entitled after a victory, there's danger on the other side of that entitlement. And I think to myself about even coaching. As a basketball coach, I thought to myself, one of the things in coaching is this, is we could go through just a major battle. And as we go through this major battle, we get to the point where we're down to the last second. And one of my kids puts up a last second shot and he makes it. And we're all jumping and screaming and hollering and running around the court. And all we can see is the victory. All we can see is how good that felt. But we didn't see how close we were to defeat. We couldn't see how close we were to losing that thing. And if we would have lost, if he would have missed that shot, we would have lost the game. And then I would have went around like droopy dog for the next 2 weeks. But I would have learned a lot more, and I've learned a lot more from the defeats than I did from the victories. The victories make me feel sometimes like we're invincible, and that we're a little bit entitled, and we've earned this much needed rest, and oh, you guys did such a great job tonight, take the rest of the weekend off. Whereas if they would have lost that by 1 point, I would have had a Saturday morning practice. 1 point. 1 point changes the whole perspective on things. And the thing is when you come out of a victory, we tend not to be cautious. We tend to be on top of the world, and we tend to think that everything is going to go smoothly from that point on. And it could not be any farther from the truth. When the enemy comes to you and battles you, he's looking at you, and he's probing your weak areas. He's boom, boom, battling you, and then he's looking at weak areas. Shoulder, elbow, boom, boom. Sometimes the enemy lets you win. Did you hear what I just said? Wow. Sometimes the enemy lets you win and gains us a false sense of security and a false sense of confidence. And decide he knows you're not going to battle tomorrow because you're battling today. And he'll beat you up just enough to let you know that you were in a battle, but he lets you win. And all that fight was about was identifying your weak areas in your body and in your mind. And when he identifies that weak points in your mind, then he comes after you for real the next day. And he comes after those weak areas that you didn't really think about. But now you are on top of the world, and you're invincible, and you're untouchable, and the enemy says, I have you right where I want you. I have you right where I want you. And it's a different type of battle. After getting psyched for battle, labored for a long time in that battle, the excitement of the victory can breed a false sense of security. It can breed carelessness, and we can let down our guard. We can take off our armor. We find victory, and we do not use what we gained in the next battle. I think to myself, I was talking to Dale, we were talking about this, and usually whatever I'm going to preach, we talk about it in length. And one of the things we talked about was is how hard we had to fight. It seemed like just a fight to get to that altar. And it was a fight to get to the point where we said, I do. And when we got there, to that place, we had a great victory there. We had a great victory there. And we gained things in that battle. We gained things in that battle. The number one thing I think that I see that Dale and I gained in that battle was we gained the prayer of agreement. We didn't have that prayer of agreement that a man and wife could have before we were actually married. We gained something very powerful in the spiritual realm. And after we got married, we enjoyed the honeymoon so much that we forgot at times to use what we gained in that battle, which was a prayer of agreement. And we've had some rough waters because we forgot to use what we gained in the battle. There's times you'll gain things in the battle and you have to use those things and stand in the next battle with those things that you've gained from the previous fight. And it just seems like some days we're battling and it's easy. We're victorious. But then there's some other days where we battle against things coming against us here, coming against us there, and we almost seem like it's so impossible and it's so hard. But then God said, remember to use what you gained in the victory. Remember to use the prayer of agreement that I gave you in the victory. And I think to myself, prayer of agreement in marriage is powerful. But in each battle we gain things for the next battle. Faith. We can gain faith for the next battle. We can gain the word for the next battle. We can gain confidence for the next battle. We can gain power for the next battle. But if it's bad enough not to use that which we've gained, but then there are some people that don't even go into the next battle. They don't see it coming. They're not cautious. Peter said, be sober and be vigilant, for your adversary walketh around like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And we have to realize that, again, if we're most vulnerable after a victory, then when do you think he's going to come? It's going to be after the victory. And he's going to follow that victory up with another battle. This is a place of extreme danger, and you need to be on your guard. David fought Goliath, and he beat Goliath. But the next battle was even greater, and that battle was Saul. And he ran for 10 years. He ran for 10 years and battled. There was Matthew 3 where Jesus was at the Jordan getting baptized, and it was a powerful time. And he was there with John the Baptist, and they were being baptized, and the heavens opened up, and the Father said, this is my beloved Son in whom I'm well pleased. And it was a battle to get Jesus to the Jordan. It had to be ordained, it had to be scripted, he had to